This is the Happy Days video tutorial for the TRACEY Tulip Bag, and this is how you make it. You'll need two contrasting fabrics and interfacing. We'll start by making one of the circles. Take one of your fabric pieces and fold it in half, right sides together, and press. Now take this corner and place it on this corner. Make sure that this is all lined up and press. I've pressed all along, giving nice sharp creases. Now take your template and place it on your fabric as I'm doing, so the straight edges are all on folded sides and the round edge is on open sides, exactly the same as mine. I've added my fabric weights. You might want to pin it if you feel more comfortable with that. Now take your heat erasable pen and carefully draw all the way around the curve. I've drawn all around the curve. Now I'm going to remove my template. Now I'm going to carefully cut all along the line I've drawn. Take your time because you'll be cutting through 4 layers of fabric. I've cut all the way around. I'm going to open up a circle. I'm repeating for the other piece of fabric exactly the same. So place your template on the folded edges, the straight lines, and then put your weights on or pin, draw a line and cut all the way around as we did for the other piece. Here's both my circles cut out. I've added some interfacing to the back of my flowery fabric because it was poly cotton, just to stabilise the fabric a bit. Take one of your circles and fold it in half, right sides together, so pretty side to pretty side. And add a few clips. I've added my clips and I've also added my gap sign because we're not going to sew across there. So I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use 1/4 inch seam allowance, starting here, so all the way around the curve. Take your time around the curve and stop and back stitch. Start again there and sew all the way around to the end and stop. I've sewn using 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around the curve, remembering to leave a gap. And now I'm going to carefully snip all around the curve for a much nicer finish. I've carefully snipped all the way around the curve, and now I'm going to turn it the right way out by pulling it through the gap left, and then I'm going to press it. I've turned it the right way out, I've pressed it, and I've turned in the raw edges. And now I'm going to repeat exactly the same for the other piece. So clip all the way around, remembering to leave a gap, and then take it over to the sewing machine, and once again 1/4 inch seam allowance, starting here, so all the way around to to the gap and stop, and back stitch, start again all the way around and stop. Take one of your pieces of fabric and fold it in half, ensuring that all the sides and edges line up, and then press to determine the centre. Open it out and using the crease you've made, draw a line, as I've done, all the way down. Next, I've measured 5 centimetres from this edge along the line, and I've drawn another line. Take your other piece of fabric and fold it, as I've done, in half, and once again ensure that the top edges and the curves all match and line up, and then press down the centre, open out, and using that crease line you've made, draw a line. Now we're going to join it all together. Take your fabric and place it with the tip of the fabric touching the mark you've made, 5 centimetre mark, and ensure that this edge lines up perfectly with the line you've drawn. Then carefully open out your fabric, and you'll notice that both sides now will be parallel. Add some pins. I've added pins all the way around, and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine, and starting at this point here, using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, carefully sew all the way around. Again, take your time with this because it's quite a big curve. So all the way around and stop. I've sewn all the way around. Now flip it over . From the central crease line, measure 6 centimetres this side, make a mark, and measure 6 centimetres this side and make a mark. Now take it over the sewing machine, and starting at the first mark you made, sew along, keeping to the curve all the way around, and this will automatically close up the gap we left as well, until you get to the other mark and stop. I've sewn along the curve, and this has automatically closed up the gap. The next bit of sewing is to use that crease line in the centre and sew all the way along and stop. I've sewn along the centre. Now I'm going to flip it so it's lined up. Make sure that all your edges and sides line up, and then add some clips along each edge. I've lined up the sides and I've made sure that the points all meet up nicely. And now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew from the top all the way down and stop, and the same this side, from the top all the way down and stop. I've sewn all the way down this side, and I've sewn all the way down that side, and now I'm going to turn it the right way out. You'll need 2 handles. I'm using a sample piece because it's much easier to show you on camera how to fold, but yours will obviously be a lot longer than this. Place your fabric right sides down, so pretty side down, and fold lengthways in half, matching up the bottom and the side edges, and press. I pressed and go to open out and place this edge on this centre crease we've just made. And press. Next, take this edge and place it on the centre crease. And once again, press. Now we need to get rid of this raw edge. And to do that, fold over 1 centimetre and press. Next, fold the other end over 1 centimetre, exactly the same. And once again, press. Now, fold it all in half, lengthways, and start adding your clips. Obviously yours will be a lot longer than this. This is just a sample to show you. I'm now going to take it over the sewing machine and using a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance top stitch, and starting at the top, sew carefully all the way down till you get to the bottom, leaving your needle down, and pivot across and sew, leaving your needle down again and pivot, and then right up to the top again, leaving your needle down and pivot to the other side and stop. We're now going to attach the handles. Measure 7 centimetres from this point down and draw a line across. Next, measure 4 centimetres along and make a mark. Using the line I drew at 7 centimetres and the mark I drew at 4 centimetres, place your handle on that corner point as I'm doing. I always add a little bit of zipper tape underneath just to hold it in place, or you might like to pin it. Measure 4 centimetres up and draw a line across. Then we're going to take it over to the sewing machine and using the row stitches that we sewn already, go over them, over the line you've just drawn, back down over the old stitches that you've made and across. I've sewn all the way around, and that's one side of the handle attached, and I'm going to do exactly the same for this side. Make sure that your handle isn't twisted. This is the handle for this side done. Now I'm going to turn it over and do exactly the same for the other side. I've added the handles to the other side, and that's your Tracey Tulip bag all finished.